Hey guys, welcome back to the Millionaire Landscaper podcast. I got a great guest today. I'm excited to introduce. Today I'm joined by Mike Johnson. He's the founder of Pro Snow Removal of Lafayette, New York. He started in 2010 with just a few driveways in a commercial lot. And since then, he's grown that company consistently year over year, expanding into landscaping, hardscaping. He's got a great loyal customer base and an awesome reputation for reliability and detail. So we're going to dig into his journey for those early days in building out and scaling that business. So, Mike, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, hey, the first thing I like to do is just kind of go back in time to the very beginning and get an idea of what was that like? What did that look like? Because there's a lot of guys out there listening in who are, they see where you're at and they're wondering, how do I get there? And what was it like at the very beginning for Mike and why he started this, how he started developing his business and getting to that freedom of time and freedom of financials that we're all looking to get within our hardscape business.
Yeah, certainly. So I think that's the common theme, right? Anybody that starts their own business is they're trying to gain that success to create that financial freedom and not be chained to the clock, so to speak. So when I started out, I had a full-time job with another company and not even in the same industry. And so I was burning the candle at both ends. And when I started this and I started working for this other company, I said, "Hey, I'm going to be plowing snow before I come into work. There might be some mornings that I'm a little late, depending on the weather." But I grew the company. I started getting some employees, started making some money, and basically, it was just a lot of sleepless nights. It was a lot of grinding, and not necessarily knowing a great direction or path, but I had an idea of where I wanted to be, and I didn't know how long it was going to take. What I did, what really helped me out, is I was able to cash flow my business from my regular, daytime job, and that really helped grow my company. I couldn't have started my company and got off the ground without that sort of backing, right? So I had to wear two hats at the time. I had to be a business owner and I had to be an employee. So I think that's kind of what kind of gave me an edge is my mentality was not just being a business owner, but at the same time, I was being an employee. So I learned a lot of how to start and run my business and get my business off the ground from an employee mindset while at the same time, you know, having my own thing. So, I started small. We just got into snow plowing. I mean, that was the easy way to into this business. You could, if you had good credit, you can go out, you can buy a truck, you can get a plow, and you can knock on some doors. And I did that and used that capital to grow, and then realized I wanted to continue to grow and I needed to hire employees. So I started, um, in the spring of the following year, so or a couple years later, I noticed that a lot of landscaping companies, which I knew little about, were were bidding against me for my snow plowing contracts. So I said, well, heck, we could go do landscaping. We could go do lawn mowing. That's really not even a hard thing to do. There's not much to learn about it. So I told all my clients, I said, yeah, we'll do your lawn mowing. And overnight, I went and invested $30,000 in a couple mowers and a trailer and some weed eaters and some blowers, and I hired two guys, two people I knew to do this. It's really I say this now, and it's not 100% true, but it's not rocket science cutting grass. Okay. I later have found out that, looking back, it takes a certain type of person to be able to cut grass, and you have to train them a certain way, from a maintenance standpoint and everything else. But so overnight, we gained all these landscaping contracts, and now we were servicing these clients 12 months a year. Okay. Which means we were there once a week, every week in the summer and whenever it snowed in the winter. So now we're like like a magnet on their fridge is the way I look at it. Who do we call well, this guy just showed up yesterday. His trucks were here. We need this done. We need that done. He's already here. So from a marketing standpoint, you got to think about like that pizza flyer, that pizza magnet on your refrigerator. You might not need pizza every day, but when you're in your kitchen and you're thinking about something and you see the name, that's who we call. So that's 50% of the story. In 2012, we got into the hardscaping. And the reason why is
Yeah.
because there was a big separation of cash flow and income versus overhead between winter and summer months. Winter was very lucrative, okay, and it had a very good return on investment. Um, in summer, everybody's got a lawnmower, right? Every landscaper's
Yeah.
got a lawnmower. It's a lot easier to get in the lawn mowing than it is in the snow plowing from an investment standpoint. So our cash flow in March, April would get cut in half from going to the lawn mowing. You got to cut a lot of grass to make what you can make in snow.
Yeah.
So that's when we brought in the hardscaping. Um, and I was fortunate. I had a friend that had been doing it for a long time, who was a sheriff. He actually sold everything a while out and became a sheriff instead of doing the hardscaping because he
Yeah.
didn't want to beat his body up anymore.
Yeah.
So he got me into it and I hit the ground running. And then I got to tell you, my first hardscape job was back in, I don't know, 2015. So 10 years ago. And I remember the job. It was a little sidewalk and it was for a family member and it was like $1,000 job. Well, 2 weeks ago, we just hit a big milestone in my company and we completed a six-figure job that I'm very, very proud of.
Oh man,
Um,
nice.
and I actually told the client, I said, would you sell your home? I probably can't afford it, but would you sell your home? Because I love this so much.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, really, that's kind of how I got my start. But to answer your question, what we're doing right now, networking, talking to other people. When I got started, there was only a couple people that helped me out, but nowadays I'm trying to help out as many people as I can because that's really the only way to grow this industry is networking and helping one another out. I might do something really good that you have no idea about, and vice versa. You might do something really good that I have no idea about. So we keep an open communication and we work together. It moves the industry forward and it helps both of us.
I love it, man. So you're leaning into this idea of abundance mindset, having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. I mean, how important do you think that is to growth when you're at that beginning stage where everything just seems like a whirlwind and it's so difficult, as far as getting guys out of that?
Listen, I'm going to tell you that in the beginning days of running this business, I didn't always have an open mindset.
Mm.
It was chaos. Okay. Trying to juggle and balance everything. I had no systems in place. Today, I have systems in place. Systems are a game changer. Okay. Um, so that this business can automate and run without me in the driver's seat. Okay. Um, now you when I started, everything was chaos. I was like a dog chasing its tail.
Yeah.
And then as I got more mature in this business and, more acclimated to the climate and what it is that where I need to be, where I want to go, I had to be more open-minded and I need to be able to take detours that were necessary to get where I needed to be. For a lack of a better term, I like to say I needed to be able to sacrifice who I was for who I wanted to become.
Hmm.
Think about that.
Yeah.
So, um, and a big part of that was faith,
Yeah.
believing in God, talking to God, talking to my
Amen.
peers, the other companies, and surrounding myself with those people. You know,
Yeah.
um, not gonna lie, I've had a lot of times where I didn't think I was gonna make it the next day. I didn't think I was gonna make payroll. I didn't think I was gonna be able to get the jobs done that I had signed up. There was times where I thought I was gonna tear apart my marriage, my family,
Mm.
my you know, there was some very, very bad times. But looking back, I am so happy and at peace today
Mm.
because of those things I just mentioned, God
Yeah,
being the first one.
I love it. Yeah, the alignment of, I mean, we gotta have faith in that next step, right? And it's like that's one of the things that we have to address is if we don't have faith in that next step, that there's a bigger purpose for us, it's hard for us to wake up with a purpose and step out.
Yeah,
It just feels impossible. And that
yeah,
faith makes it possible. That's awesome. But take me
you know?
back to kind of, when you talked about God kind of, let's say, bringing you to the end of your rope and you're like,
Yeah, yeah.
end of yourself. What was a time where you felt that and you were like, either I quit or I take a big leap of faith?
Yeah, I remember it was like it was yesterday,
Mm,
and, literally, it's I don't know how I've never had to explain it, but I was literally in a very, very, very dark spot in my life. I felt like there was the biggest rock on my chest, the biggest dark cloud over my head, and, um, the that climate that I was in, I started getting signs, I would call it, from clients, from social media that I hadn't seen before. And these were signs that I'm saying are from God,
mm,
okay? Where he was reaching out. He was reaching out for me. So something in me said, pick up the Bible.
hmm.
It was weird. I'm not a
Wow.
big reader. I'm not a big reader
Yeah.
because I'm always so busy, and but so I did that, and
Wow.
within a week my life absolutely changed. So many doors started
Mm,
opening up, but the big important thing that changed it all for me was peace. Okay, the chaos went away and I was at peace. So even though my world was tumbling down, my finances were gloomy, my relationships were failing, I had peace. And peace allowed me to focus on my purpose.
yeah.
And the only thing you can get peace from, it's not from your bank account, it's not from, you know, anything but God.
Mm,
God's the only one that can give you peace. So within a week, my life changed. And I was able to focus on the task at hand and what I needed to do to get where I needed to be in business, to get my relationships where it needed to be, to get my finances where they needed to be, to get my systems where they needed to be, and everything just fell right in place. So I mean, and every day that's my priority is what am I praying for today? What am I thanking God for today? You
mm,
know, um, God loves gratitude. I give Him
yeah.
all the gratitude,
Truth.
and and you know what? I grew up in a Christian home,
Mm,
but I was so busy and intertwined with my business that
yeah.
chaos did not allow me to focus on that matter. And that's really what it comes down to.
Mm. Ever feel like, Mike, you're hustling, you're grinding, which is, what? If you go look on YouTube at, oh, what do I do to grow my business? It's like, go hustle, go grind. But it's fascinating how many times have we heard from successful business owners? It's like, actually, it was when everything was chaos. I was at the end of my rope and I decided to let go and find peace. And then it was like everything opened up, everything that I wanted. It was like right there in front of me. It's
Yeah.
just, it's amazing how that is.
Yeah, I wish I would have this would have happened a long time ago,
Mm,
but
mm.
God isolated
Wow,
me,
man.
which developed my character, and then that
Yeah,
it's like 10 action, man. I just can't
totally.
explain it. It's seriously like 10 action. Like before this, you're only worried about paying your bills and making money, but you know, um, after that, you don't even those things don't even bother you because you learn through God to not worry about tomorrow.
Mm,
Okay, if you worry about tomorrow, that'll steal your peace for today.
mm.
That's Matthew 6:34.
Love it.
today has its own trouble of its own. So really, and I don't want to talk all about God on this podcast. I mean, unless you want to, but I mean, that's what it comes down to. And that is that for me, that was the dividing factor.
I think the foundation of faith is so important no matter who you are as a person, that there's kind of two paths. You can look at this this life of building a business as kind of like your own thing. You did it all yourself and all that. Or you can kind of look at it from this outward perspective where you get to be a part of that picture as a steward. And that journey, it's hard to describe. Like, I'm with you, Mike. It's so enjoyable when you're building that and you get to be a part of that and you're a steward of that, and you find that peace, you find that joy. I think it's the difference between hands clenched, living life with hands clenched versus hands open, and allowing the giving to flow through that. Just allowing that humility every day, showing up and being submitted to that. It's just so powerful. And I think that's a huge lesson. And it's hard to describe, I think, for you and me, like from a faith standpoint. If I'm going to go talk to a business owner about, hey, how do I build my business? I'm like, you got to let go, bro. You got to open those hands. How do you do that? You got to have faith, man. So I
Yeah,
think quite relevant, right?
yeah. I mean, without a mess, there's no message. You
Yeah,
know, with no test, there's no
absolutely.
testimony. So, but you hit it perfectly when you said hands clenched or hands open. I
Mm,
mean, that's
yeah.
I was carrying such a weight that was just like it almost hurt. Like it just
Yes.
like you couldn't breathe. Like you're wearing a 100-pound jacket. You know,
Yeah.
and then took that jacket off as soon as my faith, took me over,
Mm.
and it was just like I'm a lot lighter. I could see,
That's
I could see better. I can
Yep,
hear better. I can. It's just been incredible.
it is. I'm gonna give a specific time in my life too with you, bro. Like, I've there was a time where I could not pay payroll, and I was about $6,000 short, and I was struggling with it. I let the team know we might need to shut down the business for 2 weeks. I'm not gonna be able to make payroll. Like, it was tough, really tough. I walked into the office, and there's a check from the or there's a there's a letter from the IRS. I thought, oh great, it's going to be IRS, you know, I owe money or something. Open it up. It's a check from the IRS for
Wow,
$6,400. And I looked at in disbelief. I could not believe it. I had overpaid my taxes 2 years prior, $6,400, and it showed up the week I needed it for payroll.
that
I'm
week,
like, dude, you can't. I'm like,
crazy.
what are the chances? you know,
Well, just
um,
alone, what are the chances of getting anything from the
I
IRS?
know, and that is
You
the
know,
only time I've ever received a check from the IRS. That that week where I needed it. So
praise God, praise
um,
God.
it is amazing. Praise God. And I think the growing a business, it's a walk of faith. And then when you let go, I think also you could look at, because I like to look at the practical of what's going on mentally too. And I'm curious what you think about this. But growing up, I was in competitive golf. I played competitive golf, and one of the things you in golf or in any sport you start to learn is this idea of practice and living in the zone when you perform. And the zone is such a weird thing because when you're in it, it's like you can almost think of the goal and it just happens. But the weird thing is you don't care if it happens, but you're focused entirely on it. And your body, you're not thinking of mechanics. You're thinking of just getting to the goal. And I think what happens is that when we live in faith, we let go, let God, that classic phrase, right? And it's kind of like we care, we want to be a part of that, but we get to live in that zone of performance as that steward, and it helps us to actually perform at that higher level. I remember days where I was in the zone and it was like, yeah, I don't know if you've ever played golf, but for you guys out there, you can get, a par on a hole, which is the normal score, or you can get birdies or eagles and such. I remember being in the zone and being like, I'm going to just manifest this out. I'm going to get a birdie on this hole. And I do it. And I do it multiple times. And it's incredible how that works. And I just see that as the general revelation of God's creation in different areas. So it's powerful stuff. You ever experienced that, Mike? Like just that kind of the idea of the zone?
Dude, it happens more times than
Yeah.
I can count. I mean, you know, someone explained this to me once before, and it resonated with me. But I think as a business owner, even if you don't own a business, think of the world, our life is like one giant rock concert,
Hmm.
right? Super loud, loud music, lots of people, a lot of stuff going on. And if me and you were at a rock concert 20 feet away, I could be yelling at you, Keith,
Yeah.
Keith, Keith. You wouldn't know where I'm at. You couldn't hear me. Well, when you give it to God and you turn off all that noise, now you can see God, you can hear God, and you can see his blessing.
Hmm.
So now that I did that, every day I'm seeing something happen,
Yeah.
and it could be something so simple and something that you would always overlook. And I'd be like, wow,
Mhm.
like literally like a week after um accelerating my journey with God, I'll just tell you a quick short story.
Go for it.
I have three kids, two girls and a boy.
Nice.
They're 5, 7, and 10. And my 5-year-old daughter had a friend over from school that morning. There was no school that day, and my wife volunteered to watch this little girl who was friends with my daughter. Never met her before. She's never been to our house before. Now, I'm fortunate enough, my business is right out my back door of my house. So 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm walking out and kiss my kids goodbye and everything and give them a hug. And as I'm leaving my house, because I never want to bring chaos into the house, never want to bring business into my house
Yeah.
because it was taking a lot away from my time with my kids. So I'm walking to work, I'm walking through my yard to go to my shop, and all of a sudden I hear running footsteps, and I turn behind me, and I'm in this moment, I'm battling the day ahead of me.
Yep.
I'm battling this weight that I'm carrying about payroll, about customers paying me, about employees showing up on time, about equipment not breaking. All these
Yeah.
things are flooding my mind as I'm leaving my house because I kept it in from the night before. And
Mm.
I'm just thinking, man, how is today going to, really, really screw me? you
Yep.
know? And and it was right in that moment where I was looking up at the sky, and I was just saying, God, just like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna give it to you. How can you help me? No more than maybe 10 seconds after I thought that and I had that moment, I heard these footsteps running in my yard, and I looked behind me, and it's my daughter's friend who I've never met before. And she grabbed onto my leg and she gave me a hug, and she says, you know, um, I always tell my daddy before he goes to work, have a good day.
Mm.
She goes, I want you to have a good day. And she gave me a hug. I never
Wow.
met this girl, never exchanged words with this girl
Wow.
ever. Dude, I like instantly I felt like something grabbed my chest
Right.
and just took off that 100-pound jacket.
Wow.
Dude, I had the best day of work ever. Everything
Wow.
got done on time. Nothing went wrong.
Yeah.
It was like, and that's just one story. I have
Yeah.
countless stories like this.
Wow.
And because I turned off that noise,
Yes.
most people don't realize if you can turn off that noise, and the way you turn it off is you read the Bible and you pray every day. By by reading the Bible and praying every day, um, that's what turns that noise off. And then you'll start seeing the blessings and you'll start counting them,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Let's go.
know?
I love it.
Oh,
Well,
Yeah.
I think I love this mindset because digging in, I when you look at the areas we have to manage in life, I've seen them in kind of four core different areas. You got your faith, you have to manage your fitness, which is your personal health and everything, and mental as well. And you've also got your family you got to manage and your finance. And then you have friends and fun outside of that. But the four core areas, and it's like that foundation, everything you believe about those other areas, like if you want happiness in life, that's your faith, your health, your fitness, and your family. Those are the three keys to happiness. We all want that. We want freedom of time and money for that. But sometimes we can get so focused on the finance side, we get blinders on for that. And we don't enjoy in the moment. So I love hearing that story. It's so helpful to hear how you changed mentally and how you've adjusted and how you're investing into that man that lives in faith every day in that abundance mindset. So key. I can tell you too, guys, every single successful business owner that I'm connected with typically thinks more like this. Like that, have you noticed that too, Mike? Like when you talk to other business owners who are successful?
Yeah. Um, I do. And it's not even like businesses. It's just anybody that has some kind of responsibility
Yeah.
and something they manage in life,
Yeah.
people that have that, they have the more pressurized positions in life,
Mm,
they don't even have to own a company, but I mean,
agreed. Agreed.
dude, it's like an ozone, right?
Yeah.
So y- you start putting people in that ozone that are thinking spiritual like you,
Mm,
and it creates a shield
yeah.
around your life. Okay, and that shield protects you from the negative. It protects you from the IRS letters, from the people that the people that don't believe in you. It protects you from
Yeah.
anything that could go wrong and will go wrong, and
Mm,
it puts up a shield. Is the way I explain it, and it all starts with everything we're talking about.
love it. When you decide it's not perfect, right? Because it's like a muscle. You've worked out in that mindset, and now, if we were to see in the gym with like your faith muscles, they're big, but they didn't start that way. It was a
No.
step you decided, and then you started walking down that path. As you walk down that path, what were some of those broken things that you had to address first in the business?
So a big thing was for me was um to not worry about tomorrow,
Mm,
was just to focus on today. What needed to be done today, and giving delegating responsibilities, but creating reasonable goals, creating reasonable expectations for the other components in the
mm,
company, meaning the employees. Okay. And trying to be as clear as possible with that. And that starts with having a good system, you
yeah,
know, um, as far as and you need to be able to trust. You need to be able to show that trust. I used to always be on every job, but I realized that if I wanted to grow this business, if I wanted to sacrifice what I am for what I'll become, I cannot realistically be on every job. So I need to be able to trust that my foreman or that my co-foreman or that my crew can get done what I set out for them to do. Um, that was the biggest chunk in my company. I couldn't get past that. And every time I tried, I failed. Um, and I had to start over. But then now we talk about God again.
wow.
Once God came into my life and I kept trying, I started winning with that. You
Mm,
know, that's where I'm at right now.
yeah,
Um, for the first time in a long time, I've got people in place that can run and win
mm,
daily in this company without me.
yeah.
Okay. And it's not to say that every day is a win, and it's just like when
There's
you
still ups
talk
and
about,
downs.
yeah, when you
It's
talk
called
about
work for a
fitness,
reason. or labor.
Yeah, it's the it's the same way. The way you explained it is perfect when you explain fitness and going to the gym and having faith muscles. I still
Right.
have days where I feel like I'm behind. I feel like I didn't pray enough, or I didn't express enough gratitude,
Mm,
or I didn't express the right words from
mm,
my heart to God. I still have those days, you know. Um, but it's just like going to the gym. You got to be dedicated. You got to be disciplined. You got to be willing to do the things that you don't like to do, okay? Or that get caught up in everyday life. You know, you just got to stay. You got to stay focused. You got to. You got to. I mean, it's. I don't. You explained it perfectly. Going to the gym because I hate going to the gym. I hate going to the gym.
I You're sure motivated though. I mean, you got to show up with that mental mindset, right? There's that motivation, but yeah, I agree with you. It's not like, oh man, I'm so happy I get to do. Some days there's those days, but yeah,
Yeah.
agreed with you on that. So when we think about one of the things that happens when you go through that mental shift is you realize you hired all the wrong people. And I'm wondering, where did that mental shift come into play? And I shouldn't say all the wrong people. Maybe it
Yeah.
was a few people, but it's like your mental shift changes to where you're like, "Oh man, that shield, part of that shield problem is I didn't hire the people with the right mindset and then that next level." So what was kind of some of the changes you went through to define who you wanted and the culture and that kind of stuff in the company?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. I've definitely had my share of employees over the
Yep.
last 15 years, and every one of them, every single one of them, started out that I thought this could be the guy.
Yeah.
Right. I was extremely optimistic. My problem I had in my company is I held on to some of these employees for too long. Okay. Kept giving them chances. Kept thinking they were going to change. Kept thinking it was something I was doing wrong.
Yep.
When I realized that I needed to be able to fire just as fast as I can hire.
Hmm.
Okay. Things started to change. Okay. I don't know
Yeah.
what it was specifically, but I started taking the mindset back to like when I started out, I was both an employee and an owner, right?
Yes.
So I started taking the mindset of like, what would it be like to work with this guy that I'm questioning whether or not I should fire? You know, if he's showing up 15 minutes to late to work every day, and I'm showing up on time, and I haven't gotten a raise, I'd probably get some animosity towards this colleague, right? And not want to work with him, you know? Um, so I started thinking more from an employee mindset, colleague mindset, and I started shedding this weight. I started getting rid of employees that weren't performing the way they needed to perform, and I started having that mentality that you're only as strong as your weakest link. And if I wanted my employees, if I wanted the company to thrive, the employees needed to thrive.
Yeah.
Okay, so things started changing when I started doing that. I was just too forgiving, you
Hmm.
know. But now it's clear. Expectations are clear up front. This is what I expect. This is what our company expects from a performance level, from showing up on time, from responsibility. And listen, I've got an endless ladder. Okay, I could start you off here at $20 an hour, and this is your task. But the choice of growing is only on you. It's not on me.
Mm,
If you want to grow, you have to make the proactive steps to do more, to show up early, to work later, to to somehow shed some skin in this game. Okay, and show some faith in this game, because that's what I do as a business owner. Okay. When I want to give someone a bonus, or I want to give someone a raise, or I want to get a new tool for the employee, or new apparel, or whatever it is, I don't work like a 9 to 5 job. So everything I do it to show respect and gratitude towards my employee. You know, I need to see the same in return. And like I said, everybody starts out great. They're ready for this job. They love this job, and it's once the rubber meets the road, you got to keep that mindset that you know there's going to be some tough times. You're going to figure out whether or not this job's for you, and if it's not, that's fine. You know, I can train you, I can teach you, I can guide you, I can help you, but I can't do it for you.
Hmm. Like one of the hardest transitions is going from that guy in the trenches on the crew doer to realizing that if you want to scale the business, you have to become you have to help the people. And you transition from this I can do a really great job, building the wall, putting down those pavers or doing the design on the job to building the people. And what I hear from you is you've taken a step in that direction in a big way to focusing on building the people. How did you do that? How did you get yourself from that daily grind of, man, we got to get this job done, to being able to get heights and see people and help them grow?
Well, I will tell you, um, I can't take all the credit. It's the guys,
Yeah.
okay? It's the employees. Somebody needs to step up
Yeah.
and needs to take control and needs to understand the uh, schematic of how successful companies are ran. And it isn't with the owner being on every job, looking over your shoulder, telling you what to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Successful companies are ran by the employees. Okay. And them knowing where they're needed the most, where they're valued the most, whether it's lead foreman, co-foreman, or even a laborer. Okay. And then working together as a team. It's not the foreman yelling at all the guys because they're not doing something right.
No.
That doesn't work either. You know, um, so it's understanding everybody's capability and everybody's limits, and knowing what they're capable of, and pushing their limits, and knowing that timelines and budgets. You know, up until the last few years, we never even described or explained or mentioned budgets to crew members. Okay, um, now that's like one of the first things we talk about when we
Wow.
go to plan a job. I bring my foreman in and I say, "Here's the job. Here's a material list. Here's the design. Here's the budget for man hours." Okay, um, so everything's transparent right up front. If you're a foreman and you want to lead a crew and you know you got 150 man hours to do this job, okay, and you're 3 days into this job and you're at 120 hours, then you should know this job will be done tomorrow,
Mhm.
okay? And if it's not going to be done tomorrow, you have advance notice to explain why. Why is it not going to be done tomorrow? What adversity did we have? Okay, was there something that changed on the design? Is there a change order that's needed? Okay, is it a weather concern? Is it an equipment or material concern? Okay, and I mean it's just listen. I used to think that if I sold a job and I did exactly what I wrote on the contract, and I was specific about it, that at the end of that job, there was a check waiting for me and there was no questions. Here you
Mm.
go. Thank you. We're
Yeah.
very happy. Okay. It's literally that simple. So I started thinking like that with the employees. This is the expectation. This is what the job's bid for. As long as these guys, putting myself in their shoes, if I did that job in 150 man hours or less,
Yeah.
then the owner of the company should be really pleased with me, has no reason to be upset, which is going to make me look really good. Or I beat the 150-hour budget
Yeah.
and he's going to bonus me.
Yep.
Okay. So that's kind of where I'm at now,
Nice.
is working in that bonus structure to our crews, you know, um, if they can complete the job on
Love it.
time or ahead of schedule. So now I just gave fruit to my employees, right?
Yeah.
I said, listen, as long as this job's done in this time frame, then the company wins and the employee wins. We
Yes.
both win,
Yeah.
you know. That's part of my system.
I love it. When you were transitioning, was there like what was the one hire? Maybe it was an office admin, maybe it was a crew lead, was it a foreman that was like that you need that step to get that height. You need to hire that person to get height and work on the people.
Yeah. It was foreman.
Foreman.
So yeah, it was a foreman, and it was another person like me. Okay, someone who had a business mindset, was open minded. Okay, and wanted the team to win. Um, Before this, I never ever really gave anybody titles because every time I gave someone a title, we talked about this earlier,
Yeah.
they blew it. They blew it.
Right.
It was a title, you know. Um, so I've never been a big fan of that. But
Mm,
um, until I got a guy who was capable to do that, and so that definitely that transition would have been or is foreman. You know,
yeah.
someone that can manage those things, run a crew, and report back to me with ease and do what I did, you know? Um,
I love
so
it.
yeah, I wish I could have figured that out sooner or found someone sooner. Now this is all great stuff we're talking about, but the reality is it's not like there's a long line of those people out there, right?
No, right.
It's not like we can go on Amazon Prime and say, yep, we got one in 2 days, right? It it takes time,
Yeah.
okay, and it takes establishment, you know. Um, so I mean, there is a time period here, right? Some people grow faster than others. There's a lot of determining factors, you know, but so you can't. You have to stay persistent. You have to keep your faith. You have to understand that God has a purpose for you, and that you're going to get wherever it is God wants you to be, you're going to get there, but you got to be patient. You can't give up. You got to keep grinding, but
Mm,
you have to grind from every angle, from the ground up, okay, from physical to mental, okay, and it can be a tiring job, but as long as you stay persistent, you're going to get there. Knowing what I know now, if I knew that 15 years ago, I probably could have cut this time in half.
right.
Okay. Okay. So my biggest piece of advice to anybody that's watching this right now, that's maybe 1, 2, 3 years into their company is give it to God.
Mm,
Okay. Read the Bible. Talk to people like me and you and other business owners who are doing 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, $4 million, and find out now before you get to that speed bump so you can prepare yourself.
hmm. Love
Okay.
it. Love it.
That's, and save as much money as you can. Don't blow it. You don't need another excavator. You don't need a brand new truck. You know, those things are useless. Those are material things. Okay. You don't need another write off. I love it when the guys say, oh, it's a write off. It's a write off. Like, do you even know what a write off is? You know, did you do your tax on TurboTax? What's going on here? You know, like these are all things that I learned the hard way because I was that guy. I needed a new truck. I
I
needed
love
a
it,
new
man.
excavator.
Yeah.
Yep. And then reality is that overhead's going to catch up with you when the income of work turns off.
Hmm.
Okay. When
Yeah.
that when your marketing turns off, okay, now you've got all this overhead and you've got no revenue coming in. Okay. And that's when stuff gets real. And that's what happened with me. And that's why I gave it to God, because that
Mm,
literally happened to me. Okay. I did not think I was gonna make it another day. I
mm.
had all those things. So that's why I'm how trying to help people out and
Love it.
and teach them stuff that stuff that I wish I would have known when I started my business.
You just dropped like multiple golden nuggets of wisdom, man. If you are listening, you might need to rewind that section and just come back to that because, dude, that was awesome. That was awesome. Let's dive into a little bit more of kind of marketing side. The most trusted company. I hear this from business owners. They're like, I want to be the most dominant company in my area. Well, to be the most dominant, you got to be most trusted. You got two things in your business you're trying to win. You're trying to win better employees, right? We just talked about that. But you also want better clients. The difference is if you want to dominate on both of those, you have to be trusted. How do you think about that, Mike, in your business? How do you become that trusted go-to provider?
So my mentality has always been, I'm going to sell you an experience, not a price. 9 times out of 10, I'm competing against another company that's strictly selling a price. Okay. They want to be the biggest, they want to be the best. Okay. In order to be the biggest and the best, we have to do the most jobs. No, you don't have to do the most jobs. You have to create relationships. You have to give these clients experiences that last a lifetime.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
For me, when I come in and I do a job, I'm not doing a cookie cutter patio. I'm not just providing you 5 pallets of pavers and some stone and some topsoil and calling it a day. Okay. I'm going to come in and I'm going to figure out the feasibility of your project, figure out what your budget is, and I'm going to give you something from A to Z that from the time we start, from the time we leave, you have a complete project. It's got all 4 tires on it, all the brakes work, all the headlights work, passes 150-point inspection. Okay. What I mean by that is we're going to look at the landscaping. We're going to look at the lighting. We're going to look at the type of paver. We're going to look at the pitches, the elevations. We're going to look at the drainage. We're going to look at the layout. I want every square foot of this patio to be utilized by my client.
Mm,
Okay. You see these patios, they do pavers underneath stairs and in the corner of the house and the deck and the pool, and you have all these areas that, okay, yeah, it's low maintenance, I get it, it's great, you might as well just throw down some astroturf there.
mm,
Okay, because you're never going to use that paver. Okay, you can't fit anything in that area. It makes no sense. Okay, they just simply put some pavers there because they don't want to see weeds. Well, when you don't utilize an area of your patio, it's going to get moss. It's going to get growth. Okay, if you don't do it right. So I look at my design. I say I want every square. Listen, you're paying me essentially by the square foot. So that means every square foot you need to be able to utilize. You need to be able to get your return on investment. Okay.
yes.
So that's my approach at a job.
Love it.
Okay. I don't want to do 1,000 jobs a year. I want to do 200 jobs a year. But guess what? Every one of those 200 customers is going to call me the next time they need an expansion. They need another patio. They buy another house. Their landscaping needs to be pruned. They want whatever it is. They're going to call me because they know that I'm going to show up. When I say I'm going to show up, I'm going to do the job right, and I'm going to hold myself accountable to do everything I told them to do. So that's about the experience that I create. They're not buying Pro Snow Removal. They're not buying Unilock pavers. They're buying this. They're buying Mike Johnson. They're
Yes.
buying the founder and the creator of this company who stands behind his work. So that's what it comes down to. You got to create an experience, not a price.
I love it. So that's the foundation. That's how you build trust. I've heard multiple times from you, not to, so in empathy, like having true empathy, putting yourself in the shoes of your employees. We talked about that, seeing it from that perspective. But now we're hearing putting yourself in the shoes of your customer and asking, would I buy this? Would I want it like that? With the knowledge that I have on how to install this and utilize this backyard or yard to the best that's useful for them. I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah.
So from there, that foundation, what have you found in your marketing, getting that message out there? Different avenues, digital marketing, maybe postcards, maybe it's your website. What are the things you've done to help you grow and put that message out there?
I mean, we're rebranding our website right now. It's not live, but there's a big section on exactly what I just talked to you about. But what it comes down to with the marketing side is our probably our biggest push of marketing is social media, Instagram reels, Facebook reels, TikTok reels, right? That's what's in these days, right? Everybody wants to
Mm,
be noticed, right? Well, I don't want to be noticed. I want to be known. Okay. So the way I create that is when people call me, I pick up the phone and I talk to them. And I might not even talk to them about what they called me about. Okay. But I feel them out. I find out what type of person they are. And something we started doing a couple years ago is I started charging for my estimates, for my
Mm,
consultations. You want me to come out to your house? You want me to share all this knowledge I have? You're going to pay me $75 for my time.
mm,
Okay. Because the days of me spending 2, 3, 4 hours with someone and them not hiring me is over. So once you start realizing how to delegate your time as a salesman, or if you're for your sales team, you start you start hitting these goals, you start hitting these wins more. Okay. Because we want the best clients, right? Well, what is a good client? Well, it's a client that listens, okay, and is clear and is firm in their uh and they're, I guess I'd say, firm in the way they act.
yeah.
They say one thing and do another. I don't want those
Mm,
types of customers. I want a customer that trusts my vision, okay, and is going to trust the process.
mm.
So, there's just
Yeah.
so much to unwrap here and unpack. But you know, um, marketing is marketing is one of my probably my weakest point in my business
Mm,
right now. It's great from a social media standpoint, but outside of social media, besides trucks, trailers, yard signs, and word of mouth, I mean, my business is really mostly built on word of mouth. I've
yeah.
gotten to where I am today mostly by word of mouth. I've never had a marketing budget.
Mm,
That's something I'm looking at really closely
yeah.
right now.
Yep. Well, and Mike, if you step back, you could be a person thinking, God, what's the next hack from marketing? Tell me what Facebook ad you do or whatever. But if you don't have a foundation of trust, like you just mentioned, and you got to take a hard look at yourself, you might have to ask some people who you've done some work for. And actually, some of those customers who are giving you bad reviews might be the best reviews you ever got because they're the ones who
Yeah,
might be giving you real feedback because you got to fix that trust thing first. Got to fix
yeah,
that first. I mean, Mike, you're going to probably hit close to 2 million this year
yeah,
on referrals and doing
yep,
good work and putting that trust out there. I mean, you're doing signs, you're doing trucks and all that kind of stuff, which that's a part of your marketing, but that foundation is good. So whatever you do, if that's going to be a Facebook ad or if that's going to be a Google ad, you're going to beat out the guy all day long because your brand is trusted and you've built that. That's a massive differentiator. So, and
yeah.
I love it. I love it. I've talked to guys who they're at $4 million without doing anything on digital side because they focused on that trust first, that foundation. So key. One of
That's
those things.
incredible.
What about reviews? I noticed you guys, I think you have 49 reviews, solid reviews.
Yeah.
How do you guys
Um,
get those? Like what's the process you go through to do that?
so that was something I never really paid too much attention to. Google Google was a problem for me a couple years ago because, like I said, I operate out of my house,
Yeah.
but Google, I don't know, you can't get a hold of anybody at Google,
Yeah, no.
you know? So
There's-
so like there's a problem with your Google page or something, it's like, well, good luck. I mean, how I found this out is my phone started ringing off the hook,
Yeah.
but it was 2 hours away from me.
Oh, yep.
And it took a year to get this fixed. I literally should have opened up a company 2 hours away from me. I'm telling you right now, I was getting 20 phone calls a day.
Whoa.
Okay, 2 hours away from me.
Yeah.
But, so here's the answer to your question. At the end of every job,
Hmm.
I mean, I can tell if someone's happy or not, and if they're not happy, we're not even having this conversation yet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure they're happy, way before the end of the job. I'll make sure
Yeah.
they're happy the day I started, the second day, the third day. I'm very communicative with my clients, and I think that's part of the trust and process and
Yes.
experience that we're discussing. But I asked them right up front for a Google review at the end of the job,
Yeah.
and I hold them to it, and I text them the link, and usually 9 times out of 10, I got a Google review within 10 minutes after I text them that link.
Mm,
Okay.
yep.
Boom. 5-star Google review. 5-star Google review. There was weeks this year I had 5, 6, 7 Google 5-star reviews in 1 week. Okay. And I only had one customer where, sorry, won't give you a Google review. I'm like,
Mm.
why? Well, we don't do any Google reviews. We don't have a Gmail. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
maybe you should get a Gmail because I think everybody has a Gmail
I think so.
you know. But
Yep.
so I'm like, well, write me one on paper and I'll post it on my website.
Yeah.
You know, um, and I ask people too. Like what was there anything you didn't like?
Hmm.
Was there anything that you didn't expect? And 99% of the time, there isn't. No, they're blown away by the sheer uh ability that we were able to produce, our communication. That's huge. Okay. The process, your contracts, the stuff that you have, your terms and your um conditions, um the processes we have, our photo process, our job photo process. Okay. We have an app for that we use for that. That's great. We can share these progress photos live with the customer. Okay. If they're not home, if there's anything that's coming up, um, we want every customer to know from A to Z because if you're not home, let's face it, if you're buying a patio from me, you're probably not gonna be home. You're probably gonna be at work.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's just reality of it. A contractor could come in, he could dig up your backyard, okay? He could dig up a pipe, he could dig up an irrigation line,
Oh,
he
yeah.
could dig up it. The only way you're gonna know that the
Mm.
contractor did something wrong is most likely if he dug up your internet, because
Mm.
everybody needs their internet, okay? And all these things can get covered up,
Yeah.
and all these steps can be, you know, not done the right way. How is that customer going to know that their job was done correctly?
Yeah.
So we have a photo app,
Nice.
you know, and then guess what? If we ever have to go back to that job, we can open that app and we can look at
Nice.
that day, that time. What did this look like? What did we do? What did we miss? Whatever it was, boom, backs us up, shows the work, shows the process, boom,
Yeah.
timestamp, the whole 9 yards. So
Love it.
to me, this is one of the systems we have in
Yeah.
place that we never had before.
I love it. Getting that whole journey. Well, love hearing the marketing side of things. One of the things that stuck out to me, you said this at the beginning of our conversation, you have on the calendar every 6 months to take your family on a cruise. I mean, that sounds probably to maybe some of our, hardscapers who are listening in, if you just start up, maybe that sounds crazy. You're like, how do you have the time to do that, to step away and go on this cruise and take your family on it every 6 months? That's amazing. And every single one of us, we all want to start a business because we want freedom of time and we want freedom of finance. But what ends up happening is we realize, oh man, I'm working 80 hours a week for a 40-hour pay. And I'm just wondering, like, at what point in your business were you like, oh, I finally transitioned? I went from that really hard grinding to now I see the light. There's some room here in the business.
Um, still, still growing every day, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you transition and I don't want to say, listen, I don't think I'm ever gonna feel like I made it,
Yeah.
right? Because that's just the mentality of an entrepreneur is, the reason why we get things done is because we feel like we're never making it.
Mm.
Okay. So there's, you know, the business is great. We're doing great. Um, and I'm thankful for all the blessings that I have. But that doesn't mean that 2 months from now, I'm not going to have a hardship, you know?
Yep.
Am I worried about that? No, I'm not worried about that at all. You know, bring it on, bring it on, you know. Uh, so making that transition, I mean, yeah, I've been for a couple years now. I've been taking my wife and kids on cruises every 5 6 months,
Nice.
and it's a good, easy, inexpensive vacation. Get away for a week, 2 weeks a
Yeah.
year. I mean, when I was really down in the dumps and I was hurting and I was trying to get there, right? I was trying to be able to take my
Mhm.
family on cruises. I was trying to be able to be that dad, be that husband.
Yeah.
But what I was doing is I was spending more time on the job, away from home, in my office, and I was missing out on all those moments with my kids. And someone told me from the time your kid reaches up to 18 years old, they will have spent 99% of their life with you. But
Wow.
the day they turn 18, the statistic drops to 7%.
Wow.
And that hit me. And it was some business podcast, and the
Yeah.
message was that you can't miss out on this right now, that when your kids are older than 18, all that work that you think you're missing out on will still be there.
Mhm.
That money and the work will still be there. The success will still be there, but the memories with your kids won't be there.
Yeah.
So that's right then and there. That's when I stopped working weekends. That's when I came home 5, 6, 7 o'clock. If I told my wife I was going to be home at 5 o'clock, I was home at 5 o'clock.
Mm.
You know how many
Yeah.
times that I
Yep.
said before that, yeah, I'll be home by 5. And I didn't show up till 10, 11 o'clock because I needed to work a few more hours on the job, or I needed to move this machine, or I needed to do that.
Yep.
You know, always trying to be proactive and be a step ahead of the game.
Mm.
Nope, I'm home by 5 o'clock. I'm home when I say I'm going to be home.
Mm.
And I coach 2 youth sports, wrestling and lacrosse, kindergarten through
Nice.
6th grade.
Yep.
So, you know, I'm doing all these other things too, and serving, you know,
Mm.
I don't get paid for any of that stuff. I don't need to be paid for any of that stuff. It's just, so that was my transition. I needed to be home with my family, and I needed to make the time that I have available to run my company work and be profitable. And, alongside my path with God, systems,
Mm.
networking, marketing, everything that we've talked about today,
Yep.
package that all together. And I would tell my advice for anybody watching is it's really not that hard. It's not easy, but it's really not that hard.
That's good. That's good. Well, Mike, if we were to think of those $300,000 hardscape, a year businesses, those guys, they're trying to struggle, maybe get to the $1 million mark. What's I mean, you've dropped so many gold nuggets here, but if we were to just kind of end with this, what's one thing that maybe you could tell them that you wish somebody had told you earlier in your journey?
It's a great it's a great question. I'll just say you you want someone you want someone that can run a crew, someone that you can rely on,
Mm.
okay? You want to also be consistent in everything that you do and say, okay? Because if you're not, so me as an owner, if I design a job and I paint this picture, I need to stick to that. I need to be consistent to that. Otherwise, I'm going to be sending mixed signals, and I'm going to be confusing my clients. I'm going to be confusing my employees. Okay, so you need to find out what it is your path is, and you need to stick to that. You need to be obedient,
Mm.
okay, into your process.
Yeah.
Okay, unless it's not working, then you can make a change. Then you be obedient to that change. Okay, every job we do, we have a process. This is how we do phase one. This is how we do phase two. If somewhere in between there we're changing up our methodology, then there's no consistency in that. It's confusing. It doesn't look like you know what you're doing. You need to know what you're doing. Um, but so having a foreman, you know, and focusing on being consistent and being obedient. If you're doing $300,000 a year, you want to get to 1 million or more, I would say this. I mean, just as much information that you can find out. These podcasts, your YouTube, your every second that you have away from your family that you can educate yourself. The more knowledge you can get, the better you're going to be. Now, if there's guys out here like you helping people out, sharing these facts from people firsthand on the ground. This is going to be your help. When I started my business, we didn't have the podcast wasn't even a word.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Podcast wasn't even a word, So we didn't even have Spotify when I started my business in the early 2000s. So, and that all things to God. I mean, if honestly, I think he's number one. I think if you take a journey of faith, I think everything else is going to just magically appear for you. How do I market? How do I train? How do I sell this job? How do I design this job? I think all those things are going to come to you. All those doors are going to open up if you just pray to God.
I love it. Mike, some great thoughts there. If people wanted to follow you, your work, and just maybe connect with you, what's a good place for them to do that?
Yeah, certainly. We're on all social media platforms.
Mm.
Instagram, just type in Go Pro Snow. Same thing with Facebook. Pro Snow Removal is our company, but / Go Pro Snow on any one of those. Um, TikTok as well, Go Pro Snow. So we recently just had our second video hit over 1 million views yesterday.
Right.
Um, I'm waiting for those checks to start rolling
Yeah.
in from social media, but I, I've heard about it, but I haven't seen one yet. So I'll let you know how that works out. But
Nice.
just find us on social media, and you can contact me directly. If you shoot a message, I'll respond right away. If you have questions, I'll help you out the best I can. And I like looking at everybody else's story, learning about who they are, where they came from, what's working for them in their market, and what's not. And that's what got me to where I'm at today.
Love it. Well, Mike, I heard some awesome stuff there, guys. You have a resource here. Mike's open. I mean, we have no excuse really at the end of the day. There's people around us that want to help us grow. Make sure and invest in yourself. Thanks for tuning in here today, Millionaire Landscaper, where we help you turn dirt into dollars. We'll see you guys next time.